showing you telephone records, sir, from GTE. First of all, do you recognize the phone number that is shown as the number for which this bill is issued?
Yes, that appears to be Mr. Simpson's phone number on the morning of June 13th.
All right, so it's his phone bill.
Yes.
And directing your attention now to the entry for June the 13th at 6:21 a.m., do you recognize the phone number that follows there?
Yes, that appears to be the Brown family residence in Dana Point.
And the call lasted for 8 minutes?
Yes.
Now, with respect to that call, sir, first of all, what is the policy for LAPD with respect to the preferred method of notification of next of kin when a homicide has occurred or a death has occurred?
For the investigating detective to notify in person.
But you didn't do that with the Browns.
No, I didn't.
Why not?
I felt that in the very near future there would be immense media attention, and that once the information were to get out that Nicole Brown Simpson was a victim of a murder, that they could find out through the media what had happened. And while the way I did it was insensitive, it would have been much more insensitive for them to find out their daughter was murdered over the television.
And so, when you called, who did you speak to?
I spoke to Mr. Lou Brown, victim's father. Was
anyone else on the phone?
Shortly after I began to speak to Mr. Brown, Denise Brown, I got on apparently another phone.
What did you tell them?
I told them who I was and something to the effect that I apologize for having to do this way, but that their daughter had been killed.
What happened next?
Denise Brown began to... Denise Brown began to scream over the phone, what I believed to be hysterically.
Next question.
And what did she say?
Your Honor, may I have a local counsel?
Yes.
Perhaps say visit to sidebar.
All right, thank you, counsel. Ms. Clark, you may continue.
Mr. Honor, may I have one moment, please?
Certainly.
All right, you indicated that you allowed Ms. Simpson to call A.C. Cowling,
Yes.
and shortly after you allowed her to make that phone call, what happened next?
Mr. Cowlings showed up, seemed a short time after that, at the location.
And what happened after that?
It was about this time that Detective Furman approached me in the kitchen area and stated that
Sustained at this point. He was approached by Detective Furman.
Yes. Did he ask you to do something?
yes,
What?
he asked me to accompany him outside into the rear of the bungalow at the location.
So where did he take you?
We walked out through the sunroom that's adjacent to the kitchen, out on the front driveway, walked around the garage to a walkway that borders the south side of the property, and we proceeded eastbound down the walkway to a point that appeared to be behind and south of the guest room of Cato Kalin.
Okay. Can you describe the location as it appeared on June the 13th of 1994?
Describe it as a narrow cement walkway with a hurricane-type fence on one side, which would be the south side, and the residence on the north side. There were bushes and trees growing up along the fence, and again, it appeared to be fairly narrow.
Equals 68A.
Do you recognize what's shown in People 68A, sir?
Yes, that appears to be the walkway.
Now, you you see leaves on the ground here,
Yes,
and is that the way it looked to you on June the 13th?
yes.
How about the lighting in that area?
It was light outside, but the direct area was more or less shrouded with the shadows of the shrubbery and the building.
So what was the lighting like?
Well, again, it was light outside, but I wouldn't call it excellent lighting. Certainly you could see, but it wasn't really good.
Fairly dark?
It was beginning to get light about the time that I was there, and it was darker than normal, I guess, if it were in the middle of the day.
So where did Detective Furman take you on that south side path?
It took me down to a point just as indicated in the photograph here, appears to be a wall air conditioner coming out of the left side of the wall. That particular area is the rear of Cato Kalin's guest room. He took me to a point just this side of the air conditioner.
People 68B.
All right, you indicated a location just this side of the air conditioner. Do you mean by that just west of the air conditioner?
Yes.
Okay. And the photograph that you're looking at now, 68B?
B.
B? Do you recognize that location?
It's a photograph looking down that walkway in an easterly direction towards the air conditioner.
People 68C.
Do you recognize what's shown there, sir?
Yes, that's appeared to be a dark brown or black leather glove that was pointed out to me by Furman.
How close did you get to the glove before you were able to see it?
Approximately 6 feet.
Now, do you recall... Strike that. Let me ask you something else. The glove that's shown in this photograph, 68C, is that the position and the condition in which you saw it?
Yes.
And you got within 6 feet of it before you were able to see it?
I had been told what we were going to look for, what we were going to look at, and it was probably 6 or 8, maybe 10 feet before I could actually distinguish what it was.
And you were actively looking for it at that time, I take it?
Yes.
Now, in order to get back to all right, did you touch the glove by chance?
No.
What was the closest you got to it?
Again, I think it must have been approximately 6 feet.
In order to get back on that south side of the property, sir, did you have to pass through any doors or gates?
There was a gate that appeared to be dilapidated and not necessarily in working order, just west of there.
How many gates were there to get back to the area of the air conditioner where the glove was?
There were no gates there were gates to walk through, but none of them that we had to open.
And how many of those were there? Open gates?
I think there might have been 2.
And they were both open when you walked back there?
Yes.
After you saw the glove, sir, what did you do?
Walked back to the front of the location where I met with my partner, Detective Van Adder.
Where was it that you met with him?
Seems to me it was in the driveway in front of the location.
And did you have a conversation with him there?
Yes,
Did he tell you to do something?
no.
What did you discuss?
Sustained.
What was the topic of your conversation?
Sustained.
You had a discussion with Detective Van Adder?
Yes,
Was anyone else present?
I don't believe so.
Based on your conversation, what did you do?
I returned to the Bundy location in a black and white patrol vehicle.
Where were Detective Furman and Detective Phillips when you left Rockingham to go back to Bundy?
Prior to that conversation, Van Adder had sent them back to the Bundy location.
So before you left, Detective Van Adder had already sent Detective Furman
Overruled.
and Phillips back to Bundy,
That's correct.
and you left, if you know, how long after them did you leave?
Probably a matter of minutes.
How did you go back, since you and Phil came in one car?
That's an answer. Black and white.
I
Sustained.
didn't hear it.
That's what he said.
Black and white, yes.
It's true. Okay. Now, do you know whether or not, do you know what Detective Furman and Detective Phillips were supposed to do back at Bundy?
It's a cross of speculation, cross of hearsay, what they're supposed to do.
Sustained.
I'm asking if he knows.
It's not the way the question started out. Rephrase the question.
Okay. Do you know whether Detective Furman and Detective Phillips, what they were supposed to do back at Bundy?
Yes, yes.
And what was that?
Objective hearsay,
Overruled.
speculative,
Overruled.
rejection.
Overruled.
They were going to compare the appearance of the glove at Bundy to the appearance of the glove at Rockingham to see if, in fact, it may be a match.
So when you left in the black and white to go to Bundy, what did Detective Van Adder do?
Cross of speculation, how he left.
No, it says when he left,
What-
which I assume means as he is leaving, he can tell us what.
I mean, that seems like the future to me. What did he do? But I'll defer to your judgment.
Well, thank you.
He remained at the location.
About what time was it when you left in the black and white?
Approximately 6:45 a.m.
All right, when you arrived back at 875 South Bundy, sir, did you see Detective Phillips or Detective Furman there?
Yes.
And where were they?
They were in the front of the location.
Did you have some contact with them?
Yes.
Who did you contact?
Detective Phillips.
And for what purpose, sir?
I asked Detective Phillips to contact the LA County Coroner's Office to make a first call notification.
So that was that right away after you got back to Bundy?
Question, was that right away? Yeah, I'll take the phone back, right?
Overruled.
Yes.
What do you mean by first notification?
First notification to the coroner's office indicates basically what we have in the field as far as number of victims, a general rundown on any information we have, and a possible time estimate on when we'd require them to be at the location.
What's the purpose of that?
Purpose of that is to allow the coroner's office to have personnel available when they're needed.
What do you mean? Why wouldn't they be?
The per-
Coroner's budget is not relevant in this case.
Let's narrow it down. Can you narrow down your question? That could be in a jillion things.
I agree. No, I just couldn't hear, Your Honor.
Can you narrow it down a little?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, Your Honor.
Rephrase the question. Thank you.
Yes. You indicated, I think, to minimize delay in the response of the coroner's office?
Well, that may be one of the reasons. They need to deploy their people properly. I don't think they could send out they need time to properly have people available, have equipment available to respond to homicides. If we were to wait till the last moment and, okay, we need you now, there's the possibility that we couldn't get anyone to respond because they'd be tied up elsewhere. They need to be concerned with their deployment.
Okay, what's your concern? Why do you make first notification and not tell them to come straight out to the scene?
Because I am certainly concerned for their deployment also. However, I don't tell them to come to the scene because I have work to do.
What work is that?
Investigating the crime scene prior to the removal of the bodies.
Why don't you want the bodies removed? What are you going to do with the bodies?
No, prior to them being removed, I need to photograph and measure the bodies in position relevant to the other evidence at the crime scene. I need to examine the bodies without touching them. I need to basically do a crime scene investigation, firstly with the bodies in position.
And so how do you preserve or document the position of all the evidence and the bodies before the coroner comes?
Document observations, take photographs, measurements.
Okay, you've seen the photographs taken in this case, is that right?
Yes.
In some photographs, we see numbered tags by each of the items of evidence, and in other photographs, we don't. Can you tell us why that is?
The photographs that do not have tags were taken with the bodies in position. The photographs with the tags are taken under the direction of the criminalist with the photographer subsequent to the removal of the bodies in most cases.
Now, in this case, sir, if you know, when you first got to the scene at Bundy at about 4:30 in the morning, was the photographer already there?
Yes.
If you know, were any photographs taken before your arrival?
Yes.
Did he remain there at the Bundy location, the photographer that is? Did he remain there when the four of you left to go to Rockingham at about 5 in the morning?
Yes.
Now, when you got back to Bundy, did you have any further involvement with the photographer at Bundy?
Yes, I directed the photographer to take some shots of the crime scene.
And where did you direct him to go?
In the immediate vicinity of the bodies.
Did you direct his attention to any particular pieces of evidence or locations of the crime scene?
Directed his attention to pieces of evidence within the crime scene, the bodies themselves, positioning of the bodies, evidence that I observed on the bodies, their relative overall distances to other objects at the scene.
Where did you begin with your observations and the directing of the photography, if you recall?
At the bodies.
Okay. Do you remember which one you began with?
Yes, I began with Nicole Brown Simpson.
Now, on the date of June the 13th, when you were conducting the investigation, sir, can you tell us what was the visibility of the body of Nicole Brown from the street area?
Once it became light, it was very visible.
When you first responded to the location at 4:30 in the morning, was it light?
No.
And what was the visibility of her body from the street area at that time when you first came at the scene at 4:30?
Not good at all.
When you say not good at all, could you amplify a little bit?
Unless you knew what you were looking for, you might have a hard time.
Speculative. Without a further foundation, it's speculative. There's no foundation for it.
Please describe. Go ahead.
Unless one knew what they were looking for, it may be very difficult to just see the body from the street to the sidewalk.
Now, is the location of 875 South Bundy, in terms of the foliage, any different now and on the date of the jury walkthrough on February 12th than it was on the night of June the 13th?
I'm exactly forming that question. I need you to answer a second.
Certainly. Thank you. You can answer the question.
The foliage appears to be lighter now than it was back in June. There doesn't appear to be as much of it.
In any specific area you have in mind?
It's the area directly to the north of the walkway at the location.
Okay. Jonathan, can you give me... Photograph here. I'd ask you mark people's...
Next in order, 79.
Thank you, Ron. 79. All right, so do you recognize the location being shown here?
Yes.
What is it?
That's the front of 875 South Bundy.
All right,
you-
Ms. Clark, I'm going to allow the video feed of this
Yeah, this
photograph.
one's okay.
Looking in a westerly direction.
And does this depict the way the location looked on June the 13th?
Yes.
Now, you were saying that some of the foliage was heavier then than it is now?
Yes.
Can you tell us, direct the pointer to the area that you're referring to?
To the right, up. This foliage in this entire area here, if you'd circle that arrow in that entire area, and appears to be lighter today than back then.
Is that the area you were referring to, sir?
Well, actually, larger, that whole area there, yes.
Okay, if you could direct the person to,
Are you talking about that whole tree that appears to be there?
Yes, Your Honor, that general area, it's still there, it just appears to be thinner than today than it was back then.
Ms. Clark, are you going to show us as the next photo on or about the date of the jury view?
we will, but we don't have it ready today.
All right.
So if we could circle, is it the left hand, as we face the photograph, Detective Lange, is it the left side of that tree?
Well, Ms. Clark, forgive me for interrupting you, and I don't mean to try your case for you, but if we do that, we'll obscure some of the detail of the tree itself. Perhaps if it's just the tree or the foliage between the palm tree and what appears to be a street standard, if we can agree that's what he's talking about. So
Can
we
we?
don't obscure the detail of what's
Yes,
there.
no, I appreciate that, thank you, Your Honor. Would that be an accurate description, sir?
I'm sorry, what?
The area of the tree between the palm tree and the street lamp? Is that the area?
Yes, basically, it appears to be more thinned out, yes,
Today than it was then?
yes.
Okay. All right, did you direct the photographer to begin with the photographs of the body of Nicole Brown?
Yes.
And after he completed those photographs, what did you do?
I continued to make observations, document observations of the body.
And what observations did you make?
I observed the victim to be lying on her left side, appeared to be in what I would term a semi-fetal position. The head was in a north by northeasterly direction. The right arm appeared to be beneath the body. The left arm and hand were extended from beneath the body in what I would term a so-called death grip or cadaveric spasm.
Can you spell that?
C-A-D-E-R-V-E-R-I-C, I believe.
Now, did you observe whether she had any jewelry on her?
Yes.
What did she have?
Observed appeared to be a thumb ring on the left thumb and the grip of her hand that I just described. There was a wristwatch, earrings.
Were those... Did you happen to notice whether she was wearing any shoes?
She had no shoes on her feet.
Did you happen to notice the bottom of her feet at all as to whether there was blood on them?
The bottom of her feet were clean. There didn't appear to be any blood.
And could you tell us what the position of her legs, the position of... Strike that. I need lunch. May I just complete this last question and then...
Ms. Clark.
You indicated that there was... let me use a picture instead. In the front of the location of Bundy, I think you indicated that there's a fenced portion on the south side of the walkway that leads from the sidewalk up to the front steps. And that, I'm sorry?
There's a stationary gate at that location.
Right. Where was Nicole Brown's body placed in relationship to that stationary gate that is to the south of the front walkway?
The body position, for the most part, was to the north of that location on the walkway. However, the legs were beneath the lower rung of that gate.
May I allow the witness to finish his answer before we approach?
All right. Did you finish your answer, Detective?
Well, I'm just going to say the legs were beneath the lower rung and the feet were in a more or less a southerly direction.
A southerly direction?
Yes.
Okay.
All right. Is this a good time to break?
Sure.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take our recess for the noon hour at this time. Please remember all my admonitions to you. Don't discuss the case amongst yourselves. Don't form any opinions about the case. Don't allow anybody to communicate with you with regard to the case. Do not conduct any deliberations till the matter has been submitted to you. And counsel, I'll see you back here at 1:30. All right? And let me see counsel with the report. Court reporter, please.